Gabriel Taverner, physician. Permission to come aboard?" I was close enough to see the extremity of relief on the young sailor's gaunt face, and it gave me the same premonition of dread I'd experienced on noticing the absence of the gangplank. But the young sailor had already run down to meet me, and, looking into his wide, frightened eyes, I guessed it was only discipline that kept him from grabbing my arm and urging me to hurry. He leaned towards me, muttering words I barely made out. "What?" I demanded. "Speak up!" But he shook his head. As he slunk away, leaving me to make my own way to the captain's cabin, he appeared to know who I was and that I knew my way there. I didn't know if to be irritated or relieved at his reticence, for what I thought he'd said was, "Thank God you've come. We're all going mad here." It began when Sally brought me a note that morning as I was finishing my breakfast. Receiving notes is nothing unusual, for it is how some of my patients choose to communicate, presumably finding it easier to reveal complaints of a personal and embarrassing nature by letter rather than face-to-face with their doctor. Sometimes the notes contain money in settlement of my bill. I held out my hand. Even as Sally put the folded piece of paper into my hand, my hopes of it containing money faded. "It must have been left very early, afore I was up and about," said my housekeeper. She was peering over my shoulder. I could sense her avid interest. "I've been to and fro across the hall I don't know how many times, and I heard nothing," she went on. "Either they were here when it was still dark, or else whoever left it walked on air." I turned in time to see her shudder and surreptitiously cross herself. "No need to start conjuring up supernatural beings, Sally," I said briskly. "Will you bring more bread? Celia will be down soon." Sally muttered something and, turning, left the room. My housekeeper has the rare ability to show disapproval and irritation in the very way she puts her feet to the floor. With a smile, I spread out the missive on the table before me and began to read, and even as I did so, a flicker of superstitious dread ran through me, and I wondered at Sally's prescience. This was what it said. "Aboard the Falco, Plymouth, the 8th day of October in the year 1604, to Gabriel Taverner, Roswike, physician. Gabe, I urgently need your counsel and your help. We are recently returned from the Caribbean and the Spanish Main. I shall not here describe to you the excess of assaults, both to our corporeal entities and to our spiritual well-being, that have been heaped upon us. For I pray that in short time I may recount same to you in person. In brief, I am close to despair. I shall await you at midday in the inn known as the Tamar Rose on Plymouth Quay. If this time is not to your convenience, I shall return every day subsequently at the self-same hour until we meet. Your erstwhile captain, Ezekiel Colt." I had not managed to present myself at the Tamar Rose at midday, nor at any time vaguely approximating it. As I was hurrying back to Roswike from the last of my morning calls, all of them local, which was why I was on foot and only then going to fetch my horse in order to set out for Plymouth, the urgent summons to tend the lad with the split head had turned up, and despite the desperate tone of Captain Zeke's note, despite my intense curiosity to find out what had happened, despite my growing dread for whatever fate had overcome my former ship, I'd had no option but to answer it. The lad's life was starting to slip away along with his pumping, streaming blood, and I had only just been in time. Now, ducking, from long memory, at the spot a few paces from the door to the captain's cabin, where for the first few days on the Falco I had always banged my head, renewed guilt at having ignored Captain Zeke's summons for almost a whole day surged through me. But now, actually on board his ship, and aware, even in these initial moments, that something was very wrong, the guilt was several times more powerful. I tapped on the closed door, and a well-remembered rap.